In elementary school, I would be too nervous to pick up a pencil on the ground because I don't even know if I had social anxiety or anything, because clearly it's gone now, but I couldn't speak to a single person in the beginning of elementary school. And my mother, the best advice I've ever gotten, my mother would tell me to fake confidence and you'll get it. Fake confidence, and then one day you'll have real confidence. And so I took that to heart, and I tried really hard, and it ended up working out for me. I think in grade 9 or at the end of grade 8, I started to realize that I don't care what other people think anymore. I'm myself. My mom tells me to be confident. I'm gonna do me, and I'm gonna conquer the world and do what I want. I would sleep in classes. I would not do my homework. I would not participate. I wouldn't do anything. I really, truly didn't care about it. Even though I loved learning, there was no way that I was doing well in school. And this is even grade 5, grade 6. And then came, early high school. I was failing. And finally, my parents got me to get diagnosed with ADD, and not ADHD, because that's the hyperactive one, but ADD is not hyperactive. So it's a lot harder to diagnose and to see, even though that person is struggling, but it's just not really obvious. I don't think people understand how hard it is. I think people brush it off as maybe a personality trait or something that is minor. But at the end of the day, it is actually a neurological disorder, and you can't really get out of that. And my entire life, I was the last person to finish an exam every single time. I was the last person in that room. Half the time, I didn't even finish my exams. But I would fail my exams not because I would get things wrong, but because I didn't have time to finish it. I think back in the day, it was really horrible. In high school and elementary school, it was really tough to get by because of the way that they teach. I think it teaches young students and children that they cannot succeed if they don't learn a certain type of way, or they cannot succeed in life according to society if they're not strong in math or science. And it's sometimes really depressing and sad to say, because a lot of people will look at you and say, oh, you had trouble in high school? Wow, you're gonna have a hard time in CEGEP and university. Like, if you have trouble in high school, you're definitely a failure, And that's so hurtful for somebody that age when they already have low self-esteem about how adequate they feel. And it doesn't make you want to try. At the end of the day, no one actually tells you that you can succeed in something other than what you learn in primary education. Once I got to CEGEP and I started doing classes that were a lot more hands-on and a lot more artistic, and used another part of my brain that wasn't really highly regarded in high school, I started to excel. I started to do so well, and my confidence has never been boosted that high in my life. And here I am. I'm almost finished my 4th year at Concordia, and I've had internships, and I feel so much more adequate. And I want people to know, if they are in, high school or whatnot, and they're struggling because they're not getting taught the way that their brains work, then not all hope is lost. So by definition, sexual coercion is the act of using pressure, alcohol, or drugs, or force to have sexual contact with someone against his or her will, and includes persistent attempts to have sexual contact with someone who has already refused. There's a lot of dialogue on assault and rape, and coercion is a part of this as well. And I only really understood this term and was made aware of it, after the whole Me Too movement, and recognize that, oh, that's what it was. Oh, there's a word for it. Oh, I'm not to blame. I'm not wrong here. In high school, I was at a party. I was at 15. I was at a party. We were drinking and we were making out. We went into the bathroom and we were just making out. And he asked me for other favors, and I said no profusely. He locked the door, and it made me feel like I had to do this. I think I said no maybe 8 times or something, and then I just gave in. And I gave in because I wanted to leave. Like, I gave in because I wanted to leave that bathroom. I wanted to leave that party. So I thought the fastest way for me to get out was to give in. I was always regarded growing up as this really sweet, innocent girl. And then within 24 hours, I was regarded as easy. I was regarded as slut. I was regarded as things that I never thought that I would be named or called. And it's just so bizarre because I obviously was the exact same girl. I was the exact same person, but the world and society just viewed me completely different when I did nothing wrong. Like, people couldn't see me as someone who did that, which I think was the driving force of why it was shocking, and it got a lot of attention, because no one thought that I was capable of doing that. And yeah, it went around like 3 different schools, I think. People were talking about it, and then people ended up making the rumor more intense and more outrageous with things that actually didn't happen. But people just like talking about it and wanted to talk about it more, so they made up more things, even though that it was so false, what that has happened. And I noticed that no one was talking about the guy. No one was blaming the guy. It was all against me. And even some of my best friends, even some of my friends, like, they called me names. They blamed me. It was my fault for being there. It was my fault for not walking away. It was my fault for not saying no again. A lot of women go through that, but I think society expects you to brush it off and not care. And people don't know how difficult it was for me. They really don't. They think I just went through a shitty situation and maybe was sad about it for a bit and then moved on. But it kind of still affects me and who I am and how I view the world. For the longest time, I blamed myself. I blamed myself for this. I called myself not good enough. I called myself I wasn't worth it. And I never really thought I would come to the point where I did feel that I was worth it again. Traveling is a huge passion of mine. I've been to 39 countries now. I've learned so much about myself through seeing other places in the world. And I think that is ultimately the best form of education, is when you are looking at history with your own eyes rather than in a textbook. You're immersed in this atmosphere and this environment about how other people think as well. I mean, we here in North America think that us as a Western society is the only proper way to live. I think a lot of people have that assumption. You go somewhere else, and I mean, they think the same thing about their culture. Everyone has their own way of life. Traveling should be important to everybody. I think not only traveling, but just have an open mind and an open heart to other kinds of communities and cultures. So from learning from other people and other types of cultures and experiences, I grow myself and I grow who I am every single day. And that really helps me ultimately become who I want to be and someone who I am proud to be at the end of the day. And I want to keep on growing and learning about myself and the world.